I'm Nintendo.
And I'm Sega. This is Console Wars!
Alright, hey. You see this? Yeah, I saw that. Did you see this?
Yeah, I saw that earlier. Wait, did you see this?
Yeah, I saw that last month. Did you see this?
Oh, yeah, that's gonna suck.
What? The Jump Street and Men in Black crossover movie's happening, and you think that's gonna be bad?
Yeah. Crossovers, team-ups, collaborations, they're all lame. They're only cheap ploys to trick more people into watching. Don't you agree? Game versus game?
Absolutely. Just because worlds are colliding doesn't mean it's going to be any good. It might seem cool at first, but then you realize how bland and boring it really is. It never lives up to the hype. Don't you agree on the stick?
Oh, of course. And what's even worse than that is when the people you came to see are reduced to little more than a cameo, which amounts to nothing but shameless self-promotion.
I think you said it all, guys.
Okay, sometimes it's bad, but sometimes they get it right, and it works well.
Name one example.
Off the top of my head? Yeah, I don't know. How about Battletoads and Double Dragon, the Ultimate Team?
That was off the top of your head?
Top of my head.
That's a pretty good example. It's a good game.
Yeah, it is. For the Super Nintendo.
Battletoads and Double Dragon is a 1993 beat-em-up developed by Rare and published by Trade West. It is a crossover of both Technos Japan's Double Dragon and Rare's own Battletoads game franchises. Even though it's a crossover, Technos had little or no credited involvement in the production of the game, outside of the Double Dragon license. The game's engine and design are directly based on the Battletoads series.
The game was first released for the Nintendo Entertainment System, and later ported to the Game Boy. The games we're looking at today are the games for the Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis. Which one's better? Let's find out.
Sure, both games look similar, but even you can't deny the Super Nintendo game looks better.
Right off the bat, you notice the characters on the Super Nintendo look better. A better use of lighting gives my characters more detail. It also gives the levels more detail. The bosses also look bigger and badder on Super Nintendo. Better looking characters and levels gives my game the win.
It's easy to claim victory when you're ignoring the subtle nuances of what make the Sega Genesis game look better.
The Sega game is much more colorful, from the enemies to the levels. For example, these enemies change color throughout the level on Sega, but they maintain their same boring look throughout the Super Nintendo level. And this level changes color when you reach the second stage. It just stays the same color on SNES. A more colorful look give my game the better graphics.
So it has more colors. My game still looks better.
Both of these games are based on the NES game. And compared to the NES game, the Sega game is only slightly better looking. The whole look of the Sega game is just a slightly better looking NES game. They didn't really do much to improve it. Side by side, it's hard to tell the two apart. With the Super Nintendo game, however, the improvement in graphics is more obvious. It enhanced on the graphics and made a look of its own at the same time. With a bigger, better look, graphics go to Super Nintendo.
The Sega game definitely has the better presentation.
That's what you think.
The Sega game starts off with an intro.
Super Nintendo has an intro too.
Sega also has cutscenes in between levels,
Super Nintendo has those too.
but Sega has an ending as well.
I wish I had that. Psych! Got that too.
Even though they kind of look the same, I think my presentation looks better than yours.
And I think my presentation is better than yours.
There's only one way to settle this.
Right. A swimsuit competition. Here, you oil yourself up first. I'll look for the Speedos.
What? No, I'm not oiling myself up.
I don't know how you expect to win. The judges like oiling.
I hope they put the oil on.
Yeah, put that oil on. No. I was gonna say that we should compare our presentation in like a face-off.
Oh yeah, I was just messing with you. Just gotta wipe my nose. Got it.
On Sega, the background for the character profiles is much cooler than the boring blue on the Super Nintendo.
So, the way characters appear all wavy on the Super Nintendo is much cooler than just appearing, like on Sega.
After you beat a boss on Sega, you see them all beat up and trying to psych you out. On SNES, they don't even make an appearance.
Super Nintendo's cutscenes actually move, while Sega's is just pictures.
When you die on Sega, your character looks appropriately beat up. When you die on Super Nintendo, they just use the same picture from the character select screen.
During in-game cutscenes, the characters move on Super Nintendo. Once again, the Sega game chose not to move.
During gameplay on Sega, the color of the life bar changes depending on the character you pick. On SNES, it's always the same boring color.
During Super Nintendo gameplay, the 1-up looks classy as a heart. On Sega, it just says 1-up.
So, what is that? A tie?
I guess presentation's tied.
Or we can have a swimsuit competition tiebreaker! Sounds to me like we got the same music.
We sure do.
Looks like we're gonna have to compare something specific to find a winner.
It looks like it.
Something like an 8-letter word that begins with the letter Q that describes the grade of excellence.
If you mean quality, that only has 7 letters.
Stop trying to change the subject with all that fancy math. I'm talking about quality.
And back to back, you can hear how the Super Nintendo game sounds better.
With clearly the better quality. Sound goes to Nintendo.
Now wait a minute! You might have the better quality, but you're also missing several songs.
The Sega game has more music. It has more songs for the character select screen, the continue screen, and most importantly, during the boss fights. The Super Nintendo just uses the stage music for the boss fights. And the Sega Genesis has not one, but 2 different songs that it uses for that. Boss fight music can pump you up for an intense fight, while calm stage music can make the fight a bit underwhelming. For a complete soundtrack, sound has to go to Sega.
Hang on a minute. More music doesn't make you win. Better quality does.
Well, what good is quality if you're missing songs? A full soundtrack gives you a complete experience.
Yeah, a completely dull experience.
Oh, that was a burn if I ever heard one.
Yeah, perhaps you want to apply oil to the bun.
Yeah, here, you can use ours. We buy it in bulk, Costco.
No way quantity wins over quality.
Quantity.
Quality?
Quantity.
It's pretty clear we're not going anywhere from here. There's only one way to settle this.
Dude, I am not oiling up.
I was gonna say let's compare sound effects.
And surprise, surprise, the sound effects on Super Nintendo are much better. Just listen to these punches.
Better quality music and sound effects? Sound has to go to Nintendo.
Yeah, I would agree. But like your music, you're also missing sound effects.
Yeah, you are still going to be putting the oil on, yeah?
Yeah, I feel like I'm staring at some dry hams over here.
So many sound effects don't exist on Super Nintendo. Missing songs is one thing, but missing sound effects as well just seals the deal. Best sound goes to Sega.
Sega's got the better gameplay.
I'm sure my game has what yours does, if not more.
Oh yeah?
My game's a beat 'em up with 5 players to choose from.
So is mine. On Super Nintendo, there's some differences in controls depending on if you play as the Battletoads or Dragons.
Same on Sega. Do you have variation in gameplay with a speeder level and a space shooter level?
I have those levels too. Is your game 7 levels of non-stop in-your-face action?
Of course it is. Does your game have different 2-player modes?
Are you kidding? Of course I do. Do you have a cheat code that lets you play as the Ninja Turtles for a truly ultimate team-up?
You have that? No. But how cool would that be?
I do have cheat codes though. I have a cheat code that lets you start with 5 lives instead of 3.
I have that same code. I bet you don't have a cheat code that lets you level select and have 10 lives.
Actually, I do.
Oh, I got a cheat code for you. It's like up, up, down, down, oil yourself up. There you go. Are you telling me they made these games the same?
Maybe not. Your game does have some flaws.
Sometimes you get stuck in an enemy's attack and you can't do anything. You can have a full bar of health and lose a whole life because your game's cheap.
The exact same thing happens on the Super Nintendo game. Cheap enemies aren't Sega exclusive. And what about your controls? Typically B and A are jump, while X and Y are attack. But on your game, it's totally backwards, and you can't fix it.
Same for the Sega game. Typically, B is attack and C is jump. But in your game, it's backwards too.
I think my controls are tighter.
I think my controls are tighter.
So does this mean
Gameplay is a
tie?
Both games have their pros.
And both games have their cons.
At the end of the day,
Best game is a tie.
The graphics on Super Nintendo are better, but only by a little. In truth, both games don't look that great for 16-bit. The presentation is pretty much the same, with some things done better in one game than the other.
The sound on Sega is better only because it's complete. The Super Nintendo has better quality effects and music, but it's missing too much, and that can't be ignored. The gameplay is practically identical for both systems. Both games play the same and both have their flaws. There's just nothing really to make one game better than the other. Neither game has that certain something to give it the winning edge. Best game is a tie.
So you guys might be a little upset that there was no clear winner in this video.
I am. That was lame.
We need something. We need one winner somehow. So what better way than a good old chugging contest, right? So on the count of 3, here we go. 1, 2. Are we cheering first?
Let's cheers right now.
All right, cheers, or then there's just drink on 3. All right, here we go. Drink responsibly. 1, 2, 3.
A tie! Are you kidding me?
Thanks for checking out our latest video. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And thanks to Eric and Joe for making a cameo. And if you like console wars, then definitely check out their Game vs. Game and Same Name Different Games series. You won't regret it. And thanks to everyone who suggested Battletoads and Double Dragon, and keep those other suggestions coming. We will get to them. And also check us out on Facebook and Twitter for behind-the-scenes stuff. Later.
Oh, why did I drink so much last night? Oh. You were just drinking the oil. You're fine. You just have a tummy ache.
Oh, what is that? That vegetable oil? That might be a little runny.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I should taste it. Let me have some.
I'm not gay or nothing, but I appreciate the male form like Michelangelo, you know?
I'm just a pervert. Cannot tell.
Is that your line?
I don't know. What is it? I thought there is no line.
I don't know.